and he must have been 9, 10 years old at the most. And I asked him, why do you have these two cell phones? And he said, well, one of them is my regular phone and this one's my work phone.
Oh, wow.
And I just, like, my eyes welled up. I had to leave. I had to walk. I had to turn. I went, oh, and turned around, walked away, went back there because it got my heart. I was like, God, his work phone. He's 9 years old.
9 years old.
9 years old. That means he's running dope for his parents or his grandma or whoever he's running it with. It got me.
And
I wasn't that when I was a kid. I was a dependent of the court. I was just a runaway. Like, we didn't get into drugs or anything like that.
Yeah.
But we were on the street and we stole a lot of stuff from stores because we didn't have anything.
Two more. There's another one.
This is rougher. I mean, this is much rougher than what I experienced. But it's still. I still watched it though.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's not that too many years apart.
There are a couple people in the class that have never, seen interaction like the interaction. Like we were watching, we watched a prostitute working on the corner, and several. The same lady got in and out of several cars over and over all throughout the day. So we actually watched that unfold, and it was really something, a spectacle for a couple of the people in the class, and they were watching, I guess they're watching somebody named Tammy, who's like very loud and boisterous and then very down and out doing, drinking. So those are the kind of observations you're making. The children, like the thing that happened with the work phone, that'll definitely be in my paper.
Wow.
Those types of things. The fact that 16, 17, 18-year-olds are wanting tiny children's gift bags with little stuffed animals and stuff because they don't have any. They're 17 or whatever, and they're like, I want one too, like, because they don't, that's that's exciting. Even though they're 17 years old, and they want the little gift bag with the little jump rope and the coloring, the crayons and stuff, and they're excited about it, and that's something that wouldn't be true in another neighborhood, in a more stable socioeconomically neighborhood. It wouldn't be true. The 17-year-olds would be like. Bringing their little brother, they wouldn't even dawn on them. And these guys are running over here. I want one. Why can't we have one? Because they're for the 9-year-olds. But so those types of things as well. Let's see, what else was something remarkable. The cars, status symbols. The cars that people are driving. Are living out here. They're maybe living on the street or in the public housing, where they're only paying maybe $5 to $10 a month, but they're rolling in Jaguars, in Lincolns, in Mercedes, and it's the like that's all they have. Like they have nothing, and so that's another thing that has been discussed as something out of the ordinary. That people on such a low socioeconomic status are driving these massively done up major cars. One kid had a gun, and it was gold plated. Our instructor noticed that a gold plated, what did she call it, Glock, in his pocket. And he was a kid. He was like 13, and he and when we were doing serving dinner last night, he and a couple of his buddies came up, and some other guys were talking in the street, so they came up to the other guys and they were talking, and he sent the other guy. He was like the leader, 13, 14 years old, a gold-plated, very, very, very expensive gun in his pocket. Sent his guys to get dinner, and like he was too good to get dinner, just the interesting dynamics like that. They were discussing a lot of theoretical stuff like conflict theory, and how that plays out with the submissive and dominant group, particularly with this guy that had this gold-plated Glock, that he was, that even in, it doesn't matter, which level of status you go to, there's still the same dynamics are playing out. They're just being played out in extremely different ways, but that same dynamic is happening in the CEO's, circle, same dynamic, only it's not a gold-plated Glock, it's a paycheck, but it's the same exact dynamic, and it's the same struggle, and it's the same feeling, believe it or not. I mean, it's not.
Isn't that interesting?
It's not as though we have lived the CEO life and are missing something and feel like we're having a bad life, or, I mean, sure, there are days, but there are days like that for everybody. This is normal. This is it. I mean, this is. One of the ladies I was standing over doing hot cocoa with, she was surprised that everyone was smiling, that the adults particularly were smiling in line. And I was thinking that, well, of course they are. This is their life. This is your life. If they weren't smiling most of the time, they'd be killing themselves. I mean, it's just their life. Like, we can look at this kind of life and just go, oh my gosh. And but for them, it's just life. It's just